Welcome back to another sort of episode-y thing. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of different things going down this week, and I guess let's just start with basketball real quick. We had the Celtics and Heat in the first game last night, and then we had the Clippers versus the Nuggets, and looked like the Celtics were going to run away with that. They won the first, but then the Heat tied it up in the second, and then they did the same thing in the third and the fourth. To get to overtime, and basically there was this big block by Bam Adebayo on Jason Tatum, and that ruined my night. And then the Clippers, they blew a 3-1 series lead, and apparently no one really cares on the Clippers.
It's as I said, everyone loves the Lakers, and the Clippers are struggling to find an identity. I just like how the Denver Nuggets posted on their social media that all the people who said that it would be Clippers in 6, Clippers in 5, and the Nuggets just say, "Whoops."
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But that just didn't happen. I mean, I said last week Clippers over Celtics in like 6 games, and clearly that bracket is broken.
Yeah. Not only is the Clippers end done, but the Heat already have a 1-0 lead, and proving that they could very well be a formidable bracket buster.
I thought coming into the playoffs they were one of the most dangerous teams. They've been low-key okay the last couple of years since LeBron's left, but they keep sort of managed to pull some good players together. Jimmy Butler's doing well, and you got everyone sort of just playing scrappy and real good and doing those heat checks. I mean, it's going pretty good.
Yeah, it's how you build a team, unlike a certain other franchise in Miami.
Yeah, you might need some help there. But to switch it over a little bit to baseball, I've got my dad here. Say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So, what do you see in the baseball season so far, Dad?
A lot of unjust. I just see so many teams that are just being competitive. Why? I don't know. And then you got these top teams that are struggling. I mean, the Yankees have struggled. I know the injuries have killed them, and it's a big difference than last year with the next man up. And when you see a team like the Marlins or now the White Sox are in first place, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are.
Number 1 overall.
Yeah, number
in the
1,
AL.
and just took over the Rays for the number 1 seed for the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a surprise.
I mean,
we thought the Twins were going to sort of run away with that, but I guess they didn't.
I mean, for me, the White Sox were not much of a surprise. They had the talent. They had
No, I know they have the young players and whatnot,
and they added to it a lot in the off season. That Edwin Encarnacion is a useful power bat. Yasmani Grandal has made a huge difference behind the plate. They've been struggling to find that for years. They maybe had it with James McCann. Zach Collins has stalled out in the minor leagues, but probably my biggest surprise out of that division is actually the Indians, who they're in the third place in the currently the a wild card format, one of those 2 spots, but everyone wrote them off as dead in the water once the pitching started to falter. They traded Kluber out, and they just keep finding them.
They're in a bit of a free fall, losing 7 in a row, but.
Yeah, but they were up. Been up for the top of it for most of the season, and they just keep finding arms out of that farm system. Tristan McKenzie's looking like their next arm, and the fact that they could trade basically their number two pitcher, who's basically a 1A 1B type for them, and still be competitive is amazing.
Yeah. So we got some Yankees coming back from the injuries. Dad, what do you see going on with that?
Well, let's see what our under-over is for how many games Stanton can remain in the lineup. Give him, 7 games under-over. How many games left? 15 games left?
Not even.
12?
Not even,
12?
right? Not even.
Yeah, the season ends on the 27th, so that's a week and a half from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule today and what they have. They should win at least 9 of those games. I mean, you got the Red Sox coming up, and they should sweep them, and then more with Toronto, another 4-game series with them. And that's the big ticket there. They got to beat Toronto the next, tonight, obviously, and then 3 out of those last 4. And they got the Marlins, those last 3, who are that big surprise that I said about. And they should sweep them. So they really should win at least 9 of those 12 games that they have left then. And can they catch Tampa Bay? I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause they don't even play them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they're about three games behind them, or 4. And I think that's going to be the tough spot there. But of course, it's not about finishing first; it's about winning the championship, which they're still capable of doing. I mean, Tanaka's always been that good playoff pitcher. So if he stays that, and you have Cole, who's your number 3 starter? Can Happ do it?
Yeah.
Voldemort, you seem to like Debbie Garcia a little bit.
Oh yeah, he's probably one of the best pitching prospect that has come up through the Yankees in a long while. The closest probably maybe Ivan Nova, but Garcia seems like a lot different pitcher than Nova was. So go even further back, that he could be that next Andy Pettit type that comes in, gives a lot of innings, and is that homegrown starter that you can build around. Certainly seems a lot more polished than the likes of Phil Hughes or Jabba Chamberlain from what was supposed to be a vaunted pitching group.
Because they ended up being relievers at the end.
Yeah. But I want to go back to what the postseason standing, because right now the Yankees are probably in the best position if the season ended today. Why is that? Because right now the seeding format goes is from 1 to 8. You have your top 6 teams are seeded 1 to 6, and then the 2 wild card teams are seeded 7 and 8. That's why the Astros are almost a lock to be the number 6 seed, even though they have the worst record out of the playoff group. Yeah. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, because in this format, the Yankees are currently the number 5 seed with a 27-21 record and a .563 winning percentage. The next team out, the one that they would face, the Minnesota Twins, who've lost 16 playoff games in a row and the last 13 against the Yankees. And while you always wonder when that streak is going to end, maybe this
saw that with Baltimore.
Yeah, and you don't know what happens in a short best of 3 series where it just takes 2 to win. But the Twins team arguably is not that much different than the one that the Yankees faced in the division series last year. Similar type of pitchers, like maybe Kenta Maeda might give some concern, but other than that, it's pitchers that the Yankees usually beat up on, the same pitching types, and that lineup that they have is equally as banged up in places as the Yankees are.
Yeah, but now we've got there's a confirmation about how the postseason's going to go. They're going to have the bubble.
Yes, they are. So what's going to happen is the wild card round, as it's being called, is going to be at the home ballpark of the better record. So right now, White Sox, Rays, A's, and Twins are hosting, with 2 of those I would say are not the best ballparks, and then the Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, and Padres in the National League. After that, it becomes a bubble format in which the American League teams go to Dodger Stadium and Petco Park in San Diego, and the National League teams go to the ballpark in Globe Life Field in Arlington and the Astros Stadium.
That's so dumb.
And this culminating in a World Series in Globe Life Field in Texas. Now, given current concerns about wildfires and air quality in California, an alternate site has been tabbed for for the Diamondbacks field in Arizona. But this is going to be interesting. The first time, really, that a postseason games have been at neutral sites in baseball.
Yeah, how do you think that's going to work out, Dad? Like the Yankees don't get their short right field porch come playoffs.
I don't think that'll be much of a factor. Their teams, Voit can hit the ball anyway. Right now, Stanton can do that. Judge does that. Torres can do that. So I don't think that's a big factor.
Yeah, I just see that that there's going to be at least one instance. I don't know what team. The Yankees are the most suspect, but you're going to have at least one or two instances where you're going to have a ball in a tight situation that if it was at their home ballpark, it would have gone one way, but because they're in a neutral site, it goes the other way, and you're going to have the fans of those teams complaining a little about it. Not sure how much they're complaining because part of this is circumstance driven.
Now, the one thing I do like about the Yankees playing in LA, there's a lot of Yankee fans there. So you're definitely going to get that home crowd feel there.
That home crowd feel of all the cardboard cutouts saying cardboard things. I don't know. How does cardboard... Anyone speak cardboard in this call?
No.
I don't think so. I
No,
barely speak English.
Yeah. Another thing that came out of two things, but the biggest one being Commissioner Manfred, either the greatest thing since sliced toast or the worst thing to happen to baseball, depending on who you ask. Recently had actually I think today had a conference call with Hofstra University, and he said that he hopes that a lot of the things that they're doing this year, in terms of what they're doing with the season, wind up being permanent. Some of the things that he has a strong feeling that this expanded playoff format will continue. That he says that the designated hitter in the National League has enhanced the on-field product, and the extra inning rule that opposition has softened. I'm not sure about that because...
Yeah, I don't really want any more walk-off, lead-off sacrifice flies.
Yeah. I think half of the walk-offs have been on sac flies because of how it is. Regarding the double-header rule that he cast doubt on it, saying that it's not something likely to be altered on a permanent basis, which I say no duh, because you're going to ask owners to lose those 2 innings of concessions.
Yeah,
and ask
and
fans
the big
to pay
thing
for
I think what you
those short
should be
games.
doing is just starting the game a little bit earlier, because they're starting these games at 4 o'clock, they end at 7, and then you're starting the next game at 7:30, and then you're going till 11 o'clock at night. Why not just start the game at 1 o'clock or just an hour or two early? That way, the players can relax for an hour instead of 5 minutes. I think that really adds to it.
You might see that with this playoff format once they get, since you basically have 8 games going on in that first round, and then you have the neutral site zones. Which also I forgot to say that for those neutral sites, there are hardly any off days baked in. That the only off days really are in between the series. So if a series goes all the way, best of 5 goes 5 games, the next day is the next series. Yeah. So if teams want an off day, they need to
yeah, but at least they're not
finish
traveling though.
No, but from the first series to the second.
Yeah.
And then if you're going from the division to the championship series, and the stadium you're playing at is not the one that's going to be for the championship series, then you might have problems. But going back to Manfred's comments, the interesting thing I thought is that he said that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, that expansion has been pushed further back on the horizon. This surprises me because a lot of people thought that it would be the exact opposite because of the lost revenue that they would try to sell franchise expansions to recoup some of the costs. So that's an interesting comment that he said about it. And then finally he said that that he hopes that the next current collective bargaining agreement is not a long drawn out affair like a lot of people are predicting it'll be. And that'll happen after next season.
I don't know, that it might happen, but I guess we'll have to see how the rest of this season comes out, how the pandemic handles come spring training, if we get that far.
Yeah, because they haven't even closed the book on whether they'll need to have a bubble format next year for the playoffs.
Yeah.
That all hinges on factors out of our control.
Yeah. Now, just to sort of make a little bit of a segue, last night the Yankees scored 20 runs, and that was more than the Jets and the Giants both scored Sunday and Monday night. The only football game I watched was with my dad, the Steelers-Giants game. Dad, what did you see watching that game? Big Ben said he felt like he got hit by a train the other night. Now I felt like he got hit by a car. He's just...
Well, hopefully Big Ben is healthy and he stays healthy because the Steelers have a team that could probably take out the Ravens in that division. If not, they're a good chance of them making the playoffs with the extended playoff team. So hopefully with that defense, they're so fast up front, their defensive backs, which have improved, they could have one of the best defenses, and that could make a run for the Super Bowl.
Speaking of running, though, the running backs.
Yes, I think they need to make a move with a running back, maybe make some kind of trade or do something. I mean, I don't think Connor's the answer. He's always getting injured early. But they're weak there, and that's good. They need to have somebody to come out of the backfield that can catch the pass and give another option to Big Ben to dump it off. But they need that running game. They need that good 100-yard guy that they can get game after game.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw was the Steelers' defense did look good, except on third down. That was... We were watching that drive. It was a 19-yard drive the Giants had. They were, 4 for 5 on third down, 1 for 1 on the fourth down. And then the pressure got to him, and Jones... Is it Jones?
Yeah.
Jones, he throws the ball up.
Went up. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. He should have just took it and whipped it away. But
like he did on that sideline.
Yeah, anything. But he just flutters it up, and that's the big play, and that's the difference in the game.
Yeah, because I thought it was over once they muffed that punt. That was just like,
yeah.
I don't know, but let's see. What was it with the NFL? We had the scores. We had some. The Ravens were kicking butt, and they still had Lamar Jackson still playing, and it just. Some people were like, "Oh no, you shouldn't have," but you're still trying to work things out, see what things work. Seahawks, Russell Wilson all the way. He led a pretty good game. Bills beat the Jets. Bears.
Tom Brady's debut in Tampa Bay didn't go as planned.
No, Tampa Bay did not do well.
No.
Pick 6. And you know who's in first place in the NFC East?
Washington.
The Washington football team.
But their front line is dominant. They were really strong against the Eagles. So there's a team right there where their defense might turn things around and they can put 20 points on a board. Watch it in that division.
Yeah, watch it be that all it took for them to get good was to get rid of the Redskins name. Yeah, but I have something that's less about the on-field football and more of what's on it. So as you know, and we talked about last time, that the Kansas City Chiefs were one of 2 teams to have fans allowed in the stadium, and because it was the first football team, they, like with baseball, like with basketball, there was a show of unity for social justice. And oh boy, did that get received rather poorly by those fans in there.
What are you talking about? They were booing. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, they
Yeah.
were booing.
Yeah, so that leads me to believe that we've been seeing all that ever since the tragic George Floyd death and everything that's come out since then, Breonna Taylor, all that stuff, and we've all said that justice should be had in those cases where there was clear abuse. At the same time, how much of this show of diversity would all these teams have been able to get away with if fans were actually in the stadiums at full force? Because what I know, Kansas City isn't exactly the hippiest, trendiest place in the world, but I would think a lot of the stuff they're doing would not be received well by the in-stadium fans. I could be wrong, but
No, you're totally right. The fans would definitely not have it. Whether it's because it's mostly old white guys that are in the stands that act like they're still like 22 with the face paint and everything. It just sort of. I know this is, I guess now, two political bros and a political dad.
it's our weekly digression from whatever.
I do want to say, though, with the Steelers, they were all supposed to wear the name of Antoine Rose Jr., the black teenager killed in East Pittsburgh back in 2018 by the police, on the back of their helmets. But offensive lineman Al Villanueva decided to sort of switch the name back because if you remember last year, he was the only guy who stayed out from the locker room during the national anthem. So he decided to put Army Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cash, who was a black soldier killed in Iraq. So there's definitely players that are not wanting to protest, whichever way you want to take that, but he's sort of taking this as like an initiative to say, hey, not everybody here is bad. You have to pick and choose what you're fighting for in the proper way.
Yeah, and you also have the other long term things that have been brought to light in similar veins. Like, I believe it was last year or a couple years ago when there was the tragic shooting of Dallas police officers, that the Cowboys wanted to wear pro-police stickers and the league said no. Similarly, in baseball, the Yankees and Mets had to wait until like one of the last moments to be allowed this year to wear ball caps with the NYPD, NY Fire Department logos on them. And then, of course, you have your boy Trevor Bauer has long-standing beef with what players are allowed and not allowed to have on their shoes, on their social media. So
Yeah.
it's the problem of there's inconsistency with what the league allows teams to do and what they don't allow, and a lot of players don't like it when it goes one way and they don't allow it another. Like with the decals, with in the past the Black Lives Matter support, and now again with the Black Lives Matter support in the opposite direction. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting case study in seeing how social justice is.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, you don't want to
and how
get
images are
too
taken.
lax about it, because then you're going to get things where it's like, all right, well, you could put whatever you want, and then all of a sudden you're going to have like pro-drugs and other things, and it's like, all right, come on, like you're going a little too far. You got to sort of find the balance and use your common sense. And unfortunately, like I've said in the past, I don't think professional athletes use their common sense very often. Not
Yeah.
all of them are stupid, but there's a good portion of dumb jocks.
There is a portion of athletes that could do with another year in school.
Yeah.
But I guess another thing, diving out of that and
Yeah.
into other things. It seems like the saga with the Mets and their will they won't they with Steve Cohen and Alex Rodriguez has finally seemed to be done. It's still waiting league approval at the end of the year by 23 of the 30 major league teams, but it seems that Steve Cohen is going to be set to buy the Mets out, and there's great joy in Flushing. That the
Ted, what do you
Wilpons.
take on this? Do you think A-Rod should have been able to get that after that whole Steve Cohen debacle where he basically said no to what he said yes to, and it sort of seemed like they were supposed to, and then the Wilpons were just like, no, we don't want to sell it to you.
Yeah, it seems like there's some back channel thing with A-Rod saying that he was asked how much would he'd be willing to bid, and then Cohen's winning bid is $5 million more than that. So there seems to be some dubious things. But then again, this wouldn't be the first time that the Wilpons had shenanigans in the back room.
Yeah, Dad, you're older than us. Do you know?
It does sound a little scandalous. I would have loved to seen A-Rod and J-Lo take that team to see what they would do. I mean, they promised, in 10 years they would bring them a championship. I would have liked to have seen what they would have done. Would they go after Remoletto? Is that his name?
Realmuto?
Yes. And just see who they would pick up.
Well, J-Lo said she wanted to raise the payroll to $230 million or something like that. So can you go get Francisco Lindor at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have made baseball interesting for that division. Will the Mets be able to take over that power and take over the Braves and the Nationals, who really aren't that good? How they won the World Series last year.
And the Marlins were
forward. They lost a lot of players, but their pitching was strong. And the Mets pitching was always supposed to be their heart, which isn't. You look at DeGrom, it was always second fiddle to either Harvey or to Thor, whatever his name is. I forget his name already.
Yeah, Noah Syndergaard.
And he was always, second or third fiddle to those guys. But he really was and always is going to be their best pitcher on the staff. And he didn't get that recognition until he started winning these Cy Youngs the last 2 years, and he probably might win a third one.
Yeah, he has a good shot against resurgent Yu Darvish and Trevor Bauer. But the Mets right now are 2.5 games out of the second wild card in what is a very, very crowded field for that last playoff spot in the National League. So it's not looking. It looks like the time has passed at the moment for the Mets, but on one hand, someone better than the Wilpons seems to be the best course of the action, as the Mets fans I know of was able to. Short of A-Rod, they'll take anyone. At the same time, the New York Times I saw had a cautionary tale that money won't solve anything, and pointing squarely to the Los Angeles Angels, who in the Mike Trout era have spent big money on guys like Josh Hamilton, C.J. Wilson, and Albert Pujols, and all they have to show for it is an 0-3 record in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, hopefully Cohen, if he's approved, or whoever plays, builds the team right, builds it for the long haul, because anything good for New York is good for the state of baseball.
Well, I mean, if Cohen gets the sale, I mean, he's worth $14 billion, so he's losing $3 billion from the sale.
So say 10
still
billion.
a lot of money to have, and it's the New York market. You want to make a splash. You tried buying the team, got pushed away, weaseled your way back in. You have to have a $200 million payroll. I don't know what the stipulations are. If the Wilpons are still going to maintain control even though they don't own the team. I don't know what the terms are and whatnot. I don't think that's been leaked yet.
I think the big thing is that SNY is not part of this sale. The Wilpons will still control SNY. That'll now be separate from the Mets franchise. So that's an interesting thing in it. I'm not sure that really it's a little revenue that's lost, because now that revenue's not going directly back into the franchise, but not the worst thing in the world. And as we saw from the Yankees selling and most of and then reacquiring the S Network, they could always revisit that in a separate deal.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that quite yet. Um, but what we might have to worry about is a possible Game 7 loss for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've been such a very good regular season team, and we haven't seen them really win anything. Dad, do you think the Islanders are going to take that 3-1 deficit and win it?
No, I don't.
Are they going to stop them in Game 6?
I think they get blown out in the next game. I think Tampa Bay's just a little bit tired. The overtime games have killed them. Remember a couple years back how the overtime killed the Rangers? I think Tampa Bay's in that same spot. But I think Tampa Bay's just a better team than the Islanders, and they're going to pull through. And hopefully now they end up, if they do, they win it all. Because I hate to see Dallas play the Islanders and have to root for either one of them teams.
The Dallas Stars, they're already locked in. They're going to be resting up these next couple of days, get their ankles all iced up and ready to go. I don't know how much time off affects your momentum, but I think for the Stars it'll look pretty good.
I still say, yes, Dallas and Tampa Bay, the two cities I think of first when I think of hockey.
Why?
No, because there's nowhere near cold.
Oh.
That's the joke.
I was going to say, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. The Islanders are the only cold weather city that remains in this playoff format. So
sort of. They're in New Jersey now, so
it's better than Las Vegas or Dallas or Tampa Bay.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we'll have that game going on tomorrow, Thursday night.
Yep, tomorrow at 8:00.
8:00.
And then if needed, Game 7 would be Saturday at 7:30.
Hopefully it doesn't get that far, because then Tampa Bay is probably just going to get swept, or whoever plays. But I don't know. We'll have to see. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. Oh yeah. Brad Keselowski got to get it on and bang a gong after he won the race this past week. Apparently there was a thing where he was talking with somebody, he was at some shop, and he got to bang the gong there, and he's like, when I win the race, can I do it? And the guy's like, yeah, but you got to win. He failed, I think, the first time or whatever, but then he ended up getting the win, so he ended up getting to bang that gong. So he was pretty excited when he crossed that finish line. But yeah, so I think that's the NASCAR update.
Yeah, and the only other thing in college sports, a big thing is the Big Ten football conference is planning to start on the weekend of October 24th. I think that's the only football conference that's really going in a big way, or at least the biggest one. So that'll be interesting with how the cases of good old CV-19 are falling across the country for the most part, but in those Midwestern college states, they're slowly rising. See what happens. See what happens there. See if they can pull off a season of college football under dire circumstances.
I want to see college basketball. Siena is robbed of their MAC tournament. I was robbed of watching them in AC. Marist sucks.
Well, we'll find out, and that'll be for next week. As next week we start looking at the what's left in baseball.
Yeah, so it's getting to be a tight race, up and down, and we'll see if Baltimore can squeeze it out and Miami can stay, and I'll get to watch you eat your hat.
Yeah, we'll find out. Until then,
probably not though, but I guess I'll not see you next time.
Yeah, and I said it has to be both. I didn't say one of them gets in. It has to be both.
It has to be both. It has to be both.
All right.
All right. Wash your hands.
Wear your mask.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Take care.